Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel Daysi DIY. Today I'm sharing with you guys an easy home decor. I hope you enjoy. If you do, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. Thank you so much. For the first project, I'm going to be using 2 pieces of wood that I had on hand, and to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry, and to paint it, I'm just using this brush that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be doing 2 projects in the same piece of wood, so the next thing, I'm going to be using this gift tissue paper that I found on Dollar Tree. So I just cut a piece of the side of the small piece of wood. This is the first time that I'm gonna use the paper tissue, and it was amazing working with my friend Sandra from the DIY at the Showing It Nest. She recommended to have just a little bit of Mod Podge under to put the piece of tissue paper, and with the same brush, make sure your brush it has a little bit of Mod Podge so you can smooth your paper so it won't have the mini wrinkles. I will link it down below the video that she has where she explained it very well. And also Yvonne at the Ginger Chick Rehab, she has done a wonderful video too that she shows a step by step how to use it. I will link it down for you guys. So on the other side, I just cut another piece of the tissue paper. I did the same step, and once I was done, I did another coat on Mod Podge on the top to seal everything. So the next thing, I'm gonna be using 1 wood stem, and I just cut it in half because it was a little bit bigger. So to glue it, I'm doing a combination of wood glue and hot glue. So once we place it, the next thing we're doing, we're gonna distress it a little bit, and for that I'm using the Waverly anti-wax, and I'm just using a small piece of that sponge to distress it the way that I want it. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a small bow to put it because it was missing something. So I just cut a few pieces of the burlap ribbon and also the lace ribbon and a piece of jute twine. So with the piece of jute twine, I just wrap it around a few times and I just tie it with my scissors. I just cut the remaining piece, and to glue this beautiful bow, I just used a little bit of hot glue, and I did the same step on the other side. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. These pumpkins, they turn out really beautiful. I love them. But please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? Today, I'm taking part of the Fall DIY Challenge that is being hosted by the amazing Heidi Sonboul. I will leave the link of her channels down below. I hope you enjoy, and stay tuned to watch all the playlists. Thank you so much. For the next project, we're going to be using this beautiful black board piece that I got from Dollar Tree, and here's the item number just in case if you guys need it. I'm going to be using 1 painter stick, and I'm just going to be using the handle for this project. And to paint it, we're using the Waverly anti-wax, and I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. And to paint it, I just used a small piece of this bad sponge. The next thing, I decided to do a hole in the handle, and for that I just used the drill and I just made the hole in the middle. So once it was done, I decided to use this wood glue to glue the handle, and I just used a combination with hot glue for a stone hold. I'm going to use this beautiful ribbon that I got from Amazon, and I just cut a small piece, and once I was done, I decided to create a small bow to put it in the middle. I decided to use this beautiful lavender picks, and I just cut a few pieces to put it on the side, and I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it. I'm going to be using this beautiful wood ornament that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be using one pumpkin, and to paint it I'm using the apple barrel paint on color pumpkin, and I just did one coat and I just let it dry. I decided to use this other color on color chocolate, and I just paint the stem from the pumpkin. With the same brush I decided to paint just a few lines to give the shape of the pumpkin. I used this color pencil and I just marked the lines a little bit dark. Once I was done with my finger, I just distressed it a little bit, the lines. I decided to paint on the other side the pumpkin so you guys can have a different option. So what I did, I just paint the whole pumpkin on color white, and once I was done, I just put a small piece of painter's tape to cover the parts on color white. In the middle, I just used chalkboard paint on color ink, and I just did one coat and I just let it dry. And once I was done with my color pencil, I just create a few lines, and I just distress it a little bit, the lines, and I just paint the stem of the same color. I just used this beautiful small clothespin, and I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it. And this is how it looks, our project once we're done. It turned out really beautiful. I love it. But please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, we're going to be using this beautiful pumpkin candy jar that I got from Dollar General, and only cost $1. So to paint it, I'm going to be using this beautiful spray paint on color Navajo white glass. So I just did 2 coats and I just let it dry. So the next thing, we're going to be using the Waverly chalk paint on color moss. I'm just going to be distressing it a little bit, and I'm just using a little bit of paint. So once I was done, I decided to reuse this beautiful base that I create on my channel, and I will link it down for you guys, the video, so you guys can see what I did step by step. So what I decided to do, I'm going to be using the Bristolian chalk paint on color white. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. So once it's completely dry, I'm going to be using a small piece of sandpaper to distress it a little bit, especially the edges. The next thing, I decided to do another beautiful bow, and I just cut a few pieces of these ribbons that I got from Dollar Tree. I just put them all together, and with a small piece of jute twine, I just tied everything very well, and I just cut the remaining piece. So once I was done, I decided to use a little bit of hot glue to glue it right here on the top, and also it was missing something, so I just decided to use a few pieces of this beautiful eucalyptus that I got from Dollar Tree. So I just cut a few pieces and I just place it on the top, and to glue it I'm just gonna use a little bit of hot glue. I didn't show you, but I decided to use one button that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it because it was missing something in the middle of the bow. And once I'm done, I just place my pumpkin and the top of the base, and that was all I did for this beautiful project. I think they turned out really beautiful. I love it, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, I decided to create 3 beautiful small pumpkins. So the first thing, we're going to be using 2 pieces of the wood cubes, and to paint it, I used the Waverly anti-wax. I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. I decided to use 6 Jenga blocks, and to paint it, I'm using the same Waverly anti-wax, and I just paint the 4 pieces, and the other 2 pieces I just used the craft white chalkboard paint on color ink to paint it, and I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. And once they're completely dry, I'm going to be using a combination of wood glue and hot glue for a strong hold. And I just glue first these 2 pieces together. And once it was done, I did the same step with the remaining pieces. So once I was done gluing all these pieces together, I just glue everything together so we can give the shape of the pumpkin. We're going to glue just that piece of the wood cube, and we're going to use it as a stem to put it on the top of the pumpkin. Also, I'm going to be using again this beautiful ribbon, and I just cut a small piece to create a small bow to put it in the middle because it was missing something in this beautiful pumpkin. I just used my scissors to cut it at the side that I want my bow. The other thing that I decided to use a few pieces of the greenery to put it on the side because it was missing something else, but if you guys want, you guys can just leave it with the beautiful bow. I think it looked really beautiful too. I'm going to create another beautiful small pumpkin, and I'm just using again the Jenga blocks, and I'm just going to be using in total 6 pieces. And to paint it, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint on color moss. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. So the other 2 pieces, I just used the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I'm just going to do the same step. I'm going to glue first 2 pieces together, and I just did a combination of wood glue and hot glue for a strong hold. And once you're done, you're going to grab the other pieces and you're going to glue it all together so we can create the beautiful pumpkin. And I just use another piece of the wood cube to put them on the top so it can has a stem this beautiful pumpkin. I'm going to use the ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just create a small bow. I think it looks beautiful, but in the end I removed that bow because I just wanted to be the same as the other one, and I just did the same step as the other beautiful pumpkin, and I think it turned out really adorable, this pumpkin too. For the next pumpkin, we're going to be using 9 wood stems that I got from Dollar Tree. And to paint it, I'm using first the Waverly anti-wax, and I just paint 3 pieces. And once I was done, I used the Rust-Oleum chalk paint and I paint 3 stems. And also I used the Waverly chalk paint on color moss, and I just paint the other 3 pieces. I just put everything together, and to glue it I just use hot glue, but if you guys want a strong hold, I would recommend you guys to use wood glue. I just like to use this jute twine to wrap it a few times, and once I was done, I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue the remaining piece. I'm going to be using another wood stem, and I just used my saw to cut it in half because it was a little bit bigger. I decided to use this lavender pigs, and I'm just going to be using a few pieces, and I just place it on the top, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. Also, the other thing, I create another bow and I just cut it at the side that I need it, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. And this is how it looks, our beautiful small pumpkins once you're done. I think it turned out really adorable, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, we're going to be using one wood crate that I got from Dollar Tree, and here's the item number just in case if you guys need it. So what I did, I removed that label, and once I was done to paint it, I'm using the craft wash chalkboard paint. I just put a little bit of water because I just want to create like a stain to paint it. So I just did 1 coat and I just let it dry. Also, I decided to paint inside of the wood crate. The next thing, I used the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. So I didn't let it dry when I was putting this paint because I just want to be blending this color together. So once they're completely dry, I went over with the same paint so it can have a little bit distress of the wood crate. So once it's completely dry, I use another paint, the Waverly chalk paint on color moss. I just used a little bit of paint, and once it was completely dry, I just sanded everything very well. I missed the footage of this video. It was not that hard. I just sanded so they can blend all the colors together. So the next thing, I'm going to be using one pumpkin that I got from TJ Maxx. I got this whole bag for $3. I think they were really great deal. So to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. So you guys can see, I just used a little bit of paint to distress it a little bit, the pumpkin. So the next thing, I want to recreate this beautiful metal leaves that I removed from a pumpkin sign. So I just used a small piece of cardboard and I just traced it, and with my scissors I just cut it. So once I was done, I decided to paint it, and for that I just used the Waverly chalk paint on color moss. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. Also, I decided to paint the edges and the back for finished look. I'm going to be using this beautiful berry garland that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just cut 2 pieces, and with the Sharpie I just want to give this shape to the garland. And once I'm done, I'm going to be creating another beautiful bow, and I just want to show you the burlap ribbon that I use, and also the lace ribbon, and this beautiful ribbon that I just found at Dollar Tree. They're really beautiful. I love it. It has like these beautiful small pumpkins. They're really beautiful. So once I'm done, I just place everything together, and with a small piece of jute twine I just tie everything, and with the remaining piece I just use my scissors to cut it. The next thing, I'm using one wood stamp that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna be using hot glue to put it. If you guys want a strong hold, I would recommend you guys to use wood glue. So once we're done, I just place the 2 pieces of the berry garland this way. I didn't use hot glue because you can just wrap it around a few times in the wood stem. So once we're done, we're just gonna put a beautiful bow in the middle, and I just create another bow to put it on the other side because I want this beautiful pumpkin to be 2 sides. So the other thing, with this remaining piece of the greeneries that we always remove the stems, I'm just gonna be using a few pieces to put it on the leaves so we can place it more easy in the wood crate. Also, I just put this beautiful button, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. So this is how it looks our project once we're done. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this beautiful pumpkin? I think it turned out really beautiful, the 2 sides of the pumpkin. So you guys can have a little bit of more options to display this beautiful pumpkin in your house. Please let me know, what do you guys think about the project? For the next project, we're going to be using a small piece of wood, and I just had this piece on hand, and to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. I'm going to use these stickers letters that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to be spelling the word fall. And once I place the stickers, I just place them at the way that I want it. And once I was done, I just place it all the way. So on one side, I put happy, fall, spice, and farm. I'm going to do 1 coat of Mod Podge on the top so we can seal the stickers, and I just let it dry. Also, I'm going to be using 1 wood stem, and what I did, I just cut it in half because it was a little bit bigger. To glue it, I just used wood glue for a strong hold, and I just let it dry. I'm going to use again the ribbon, and I'm just going to create a small bow to put it on the top, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. I just cut a few pieces of this greenery that I had on hand. It was missing something, and that was the touch that I need. So this is how it looks our project once we're done. I think it turned out really beautiful, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this project? For the next project, we're going to be using this beautiful pumpkin sign that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using the back for this project. On the other side, I did another project, but I will show you in another video. So to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did 1 coat and I just let it dry. So I didn't cover the pumpkin all the way because I want the wood to show a little bit. So once I was done, I decided to distress it a little bit more, the pumpkin, and for that I just used the Waverly chalk paint on color moss. So I just went a little bit heavy on the paint. I didn't like it, so to fix that, once I was completely dry, I went over again with the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white, and it turned out amazing, the distress look that we did on the pumpkin. I'm going to use this metal letter that I got from Dollar Tree, and to paint it, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint on color mask. I just did one coat and I just let it dry. Also, I'm gonna be using these beautiful lace doilies that I got from Dollar General, and I'm only gonna be using one for this project. So I just put one coat on Mod Podge in the pumpkin, and once I was done, I just placed it on the top and I just did another coat on Mod Podge on the top. I use a lot of Mod Podge to put this doily. I just want to make sure to cover it all the way with Mod Podge, so I let it dry one day, and once it was completely dry, you guys can see the doily, it was a little bit bigger for the wood sign. So to fix that, I just grabbed my scissors and I just cut the extra doily on the side. The next thing, we're just going to put the letter on the top and also this beautiful middle leaf. It came with the same pumpkin, and also I just create this beautiful bow. I just show you how I create on the other projects these beautiful bows. The other thing that I decided to do, I just use a few pieces of the craft sticks to put them on the letter so it can give this 3D effect that we're looking for. And I also decide to do it on the back of the leaf. And I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue everything. And this is how it looks our project once we're done. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about this beautiful pumpkin? I think it turned out really beautiful, but please let me know what you guys think. For the next project, we're going to be using non-Jenga blocks that I got from Dollar Tree, and to glue all these pieces together, I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. But if you guys want a strong hold, I would recommend you guys to use wood glue. Also, I decided to use these brown pieces. If you guys don't have this brown one, you guys can just use the plain ones. So we're gonna be trying to create a small pumpkin, and I'm just gonna glue it this way. And once we glue it all these pieces together, we're just gonna glue the remaining pieces. So once we're done, to paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I did one coat and I just let it dry. So you guys can see I didn't cover it all the way because I want the color brown to show a little bit. So I just did one coat and I just let it dry. So once it's completely dry, I went over with the Waverly chalk paint on color mask to distress it a little bit. I just used a little bit of paint to distress it. We're going to be using another Jenga block to put the stem on the middle, and I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. Also, we're going to be creating a small bow to put it in the middle, and I just use this small raffia bow and also this burlap ribbon and a piece of that lace ribbon. So with a small piece of jute twine, I just tied these two pieces together, and with the remaining piece, I just use my scissors to cut it. So once we're done, I just use a little bit of hot glue to glue it. Also, I decided to use a few pieces of this greenery to put it right here on the other side because I want the pumpkin to be two sides, and also to distress it a little bit on the edges, I just use a small piece of sandpaper and I just distress it the way that I want it. The other thing that I did, I just used another small piece of ribbon and I just placed it on the bottom so it can has this beautiful bow on the other side. And also I just used one button to put it on the middle of the bow because it was missing something. So this is how it looks at project once we're done. It turned out really adorable, this pumpkin. I love it, but please let me know what you guys think. For the next project, I'm going to be using this kind of holder that I got from the Dollar Tree. It was the first time that I saw these beautiful kind of holders. I think they're really beautiful. So we're just going to be using the base. We're not going to do nothing to the other part of the kind of holder. We're just going to leave it at the same color. So to paint the base, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in color white. I didn't want to cover it all the way because I want the color gray to show a little bit. So I just did one coat and I just let it dry. Also, I decided to paint the bottom part so it can has a finished look. So the next thing, I'm going to be using this beautiful pumpkin. I'm not sure if it's from Dollar Tree or it's from at Homes. I'm not sure. I had it for a really long time. So to paint it, I'm using the same paint and I didn't want to cover it all the way because I want the color to show a little bit. So once I was done, I decided to create another beautiful small bow. I just used the burlap ribbon and also a few pieces of the lace ribbon, and with a small piece of jute twine, I just wrap it around a few times and I just tie it very well. And with the remaining piece, I just use my scissors to cut it. So I just decided to remove this raffia bow because I want to put it in the middle of this beautiful bow that we just create. And to glue it, I just use a little bit of hot glue. And once we're done, we're just gonna put our beautiful base together and the pumpkin inside. I think this turned out really beautiful, but right now that I see on the video, I think it will look really beautiful if I paint the letter 8 on color gold and also this beautiful like design that it had on the side. What do you guys think? Should I paint the letters in the part of the pumpkin so it can blend a little bit more, or do you guys like it just the way it is? Please let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think about the project? For the next project, we're going to be using this beautiful pumpkin decor piece that I got from Dollar Tree. To paint it, I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint on color white. I just went over all the edges. I just used a little bit of paint. So once I was done, I just went over again with the same paint to distress it a little bit more. And also, I decided to remove all the embellishment that I had the pumpkin because I just want to paint it also the stem from the top. And to have a finished better look, I decided to paint the edges and I just let it dry. So the next thing, we're going to create this beautiful bow and I just used these ribbons that I got from Dollar Tree and I just cut a few pieces, and once I was done, I just placed the pieces of the ribbon this way and I just tied everything very well with a small piece of jute twine, and I just tie it very well twice. And once I was done with the remaining piece of the jute twine, I just used my scissors to cut it. Also, I'm going to be using the same pieces of the raffia bow and I just create this beautiful bow to put it right here in the middle. And it was a little bit bigger once I placed that small bow of raffia, so I just used my scissors to cut it at the side that I needed. So I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue it. Also, I'm going to be using this Waverly chalk paint on color mask to paint the leaf. I just did one coat and I just let it dry. So once we're done, I decided to put a small piece of the craft stick on the bottom so we can give this 3D effect to the leaf. And I just used a little bit of hot glue to glue everything. I decided to cover the holes where the hanger was so it can has a finished look, this beautiful pumpkin. I just want to have another option for this beautiful sign. So what I did, I used the Waverly chalk paint on color mask. I just used a little bit of paint to paint it. I didn't cover it all the way because I want the letters to show a little bit, so I just went a little bit heavy on the edges of the pumpkin, but on the top of the letters I just used a little bit of paint. So once it's completely dry, I went over the letters with a small piece of sandpaper so we can remove the paint. It removed a little bit of the glitter that it had this beautiful sign, but it didn't matter because it turned out really beautiful. And once it was done, I just sanded a little bit the edges of the pumpkin, and I just did the same step. I reused the same beautiful leaf with the same bow, and this is how it looks our project once we're done. It turned out really beautiful. I love the color, but please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think about the second version of the pumpkin? So that was it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified every time that I upload a new video. And please don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.